Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Louise. Before we get started on our chapter review, don't we have something exciting to show people and if you're not at YouTube, go to YouTube because you're
You're
going to want to see this. Super
going to want to
cool.
see it. Look what we have at Mom
Okay.
Mugs, Adoption
It's
the
our,
Making Me.
yeah, it's our new mugs. So on one side, it says at Mom, Adoption the Making Me. And the other side says another great episode.
Another great episode. And it's awesome. It's like I'm so proud when I see it. And we're going to be selling those
I
very
know.
shortly.
Yes, we're going to have those on our website really soon. So
Website, and you're going to be able to join at a Patreon level to get a mug. So,
yes, exactly. We're going to have a new Patreon level, which will get you to our Patreon Zoom group and you'll get a mug. It's
and then you
very
can drink your
exciting
coffee on the Zoom with the
during the
Patreon,
Zoom call. Exactly.
whichever one will want one.
If in the meantime you want to, before, because it's going to take us a minute to get it on the website, if you want the mug, reach out to us, however you reach out to us, either on our emails, our website, any of the
Yeah.
socials, just send us a DM and we will put you on the list for mugs.
Can't can't wait. And now we're
Yeah.
going to talk about I Would Meet You Anywhere by Susan Kiyo, which we are thoroughly enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
What's so well written. Can I say one thing? I was reading the back. You know how they give, I never really read the back where it gives who says what about her book.
Uh-huh.
And someone said it was a work of art, like a delicate, precise cutting with her words, like a surgeon. I
Yeah.
loved it. That's how I feel about it.
I didn't realize Kamal Bell
I
had,
know. That's
yeah.
who wrote that. I just love what she wrote about it.
Oh, and Angela Tucker.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I mean,
cool.
it's so good. Susan's going to be in Kansas City in February when they
Lucky.
go to that reading.
Lucky.
Susan, I look forward to meeting you. I hope you're listening. So we
Well,
are on
yeah.
I Would Meet You at the Holiday Inn, and this is when she meets her
Yeah.
birth mother.
Which,
Very
yeah. We,
poignant
hmm We both cried through this.
melancholy.
This was
Yeah,
the way she writes it, literally, I'm there with her at that age. I feel
I know.
my stomach, how she's feeling. There was something, you know what? We finished the last chapter last week, but there was a quote in there, and then I'll let you start talking about this chapter. But there was something which I thought led into it where she says, I didn't know if it was possible to meet the woman who had made me and come back the same person, which I re-went and circled because I was like, after this, you're not the same person. You're just not meeting your birth mother. You'll never be the same person again. I've never met
Right.
my birth mother. I had a lot of like, how would I have been treated? Like, I don't know. I assume wonderfully. We don't know that.
I
Like,
mean, I had the best possible
yeah.
scenario of meeting my birth mother because she was waiting for me
Yes.
all those years. And
All those years. That's how
this
I
just
feel mine would be, but we don't, it was just this, it hurt me for her. So how do you want to start it? That's so much.
well, I mean, the just right out the gate when she says to her, well, this was supposed to be confidential. Like she was
Yeah.
mad
Yeah. She
about
was cold and mad.
mhm, about being found.
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh, such a harsh era.
You know
Gosh,
what?
it
It also,
just
I put AM here because there's this part where she says, I went to a support group for adoptees. Like, she's like, oh, like her mom says, this was all supposed to be a secret. You can picture it, right? And she's very sophisticated. And this is a young girl sitting in front of her, not sophisticated. And she's like, I went to a support group for adoptees. They helped me. I could picture myself like justifying a muscle in her cheek flinch. And I marveled at the color of her lipstick, a sophisticated coral. It reminded me of AM, like looking at the mother and what she's wearing and the lipstick and the
yes, yes, yes. Kind of the opposite though.
kind of
Like
the opposite.
her mother wasn't so
Right.
sophisticated. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was just kind of those noticing things, the coral lipstick, gosh. So,
Yeah.
not to give a giveaway, but she meets her mother, and it's very many hours in this hotel room, and a lot of it where she's doing pushback for sure. Like the one line, I didn't think about you for 21
Oh my
years.
gosh, that was so cruel. I mean,
Cruel.
but then you find out later, in fact, so they go through this whole day together, they go eat, then they have ice cream and it kind of
Oh,
breaks the ice. But I think what really, I think what got me and what could make me cry now was finding out that she had a sister and that the
oh,
sister got her name.
That surprised me.
It was so
I'd like to talk to Susan
just
still
so
about it.
dismissive of
Mika became her sister's name, 17-year-old sister.
and her mother was like, "Well, I really like the name."
Yeah. She said something
Just
that made her feel evaporated. Like she didn't
right,
exist, she evaporated.
which is
Oh
such a
yeah.
common theme among adopted people that we've talked to, just
Yeah.
really feeling kind of like we
Not
don't
that
matter.
we don't matter. What the other thing that made me start crying was when she said her oh let me see a picture of your parents. She likes pictures, which was interesting. The birth mother liked
Hmm.
pictures. Like Yumi was her name. Oh, I love pictures. Let me see pictures. Oh, your parents look like nice people. She was happy they were Japanese because she had asked for that. And I just felt like she said, "Oh, well, do they know you're looking? You shouldn't hurt their feelings." Another thing against her to have her
I know.
like the guilt being passed off by her birth mother about her parents. And she's
So
like,
much
"No, they're
responsibility.
helping me." Yeah, that part, it's surprising to me. Like how just she was definitely cold, but then she did come around a little bit. You know, when she said you were 21 years old, she said in her mind, "I'm 20." That was
Yeah.
interesting too. But also, okay, the one part before, well, how about her mother? Which one thing she found out because her mom did start to talk about it and kind of like looking at the barn above her head.
She couldn't look at her.
She couldn't look at her because she found out that they really did look so much alike. And
Hmm.
all that, but she was looking at the barn above her head, some painting in the Holiday Inn. And she said that she had to go back after 2 months and take her with a bottle to the adoption agency. So this woman definitely has some trauma. I mean, there's some layers
I mean,
there.
she was I mean, obviously we're going to continue reading and there more will be revealed, but she was very, very disconnected
Yeah.
just from all her emotions and, like compartmentalized. She had
Yeah.
compartmentalized that part of her life. But then the interesting thing is that when Susan asked about her birth father, she'd been in touch with him for all these years.
All these years.
And that he was the one who would remind her, she would be 4 today, she would be 17 today. Today's the day.
Yeah.
So he was the one. So it wasn't true that she didn't
Mhm.
think about her because he would remind her about her. It
You
was
should have to think about it.
obviously protective
Yeah.
measures. And
Kind of like, I never thought you'd find me. I can't deal with this. My kids don't know. And her husband knew. She did tell her
mhm,
husband in
did
case it
tell her
were to
husband.
ever come up. I don't know what that is.
We've talked about this before.
Mhm.
Because, we've had a few guests over the years who have said, my birth mother was crazy or this and that. And I really, really think that what that having to give up a child for the
Mhm.
most part, most people, I think that just damages you in a way. And that's no, not crazy, but damaged and in pain. And everyone deals with it in a different way.
And it
So,
and it manifests in your brain and messes with you. There's no way.
mhm.
We've had our own pain. You can imagine. Um, you just imagine that. I talked to a boyfriend who knew my mother, my biological mother, before she died, and he kept saying that she would say she changed her name twice, which is interesting for like fresh starts. And then she said to him, he was talking about marriage, and she's like, "Oh, you don't want to marry me. I'm not a good person. I've done this thing, and that's 7, 8 years later, it stays with you.
Mhm.
There's no way. I mean, that's why she's like, I never thought, like, that's why she couldn't look at her. I can picture her looking at the barn. She can't deal.
Yeah,
It's,
and it's probably she's hanging on by a thread maybe at this point, meeting
yeah,
her, all this carefully this house of cards she's built for
yeah,
all
it is a
these
house of
years that,
cards.
just one little shove. And so
It
I'm
is,
really anxious to see what happens because Susan asks her, I'd like to meet him. I'd
yes.
like to talk to him.
I'd
So
like to meet my siblings.
yeah.
She
And
asks
I
her.
mean, which is so bold and brave
I
of
thought she was very
Susan.
bold through this whole thing. She's
I
there
did.
for 4 hours. I would have been
Yeah.
out of there. I don't do rejection well. I probably would have left when I started crying. because she cried and kept it together, and they had lunch down the Holiday Inn, and
And
at the
ice cream,
end,
which the
and
ice
ice
cream was the
cream.
final icebreaker, but
Ice cream was the icebreaker. They both like coffee chip. And then at the bus stop, her mom said to her, "Let me wait for the bus with you," which was protective feeling. And she said, "I'm so glad. I wouldn't have missed this for the world." The mother said that.
yeah.
I wouldn't have missed this for the world. The first really kind, loving, which probably has her hanging on by a thread. That would make me
Yeah.
hang on by a thread. I feel for her, Susan, the little Susan that we're gonna learn more about. It's weird because we know her, but I feel like I'm like Susan.
I know.
And I know you're listening to this, so we're loving this. So
Love it so much. I just love
Mhm.
it. It's such a beautiful book. Everything about it
It
is
really is.
so emotional.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about Roy because this is a good interview too.
Yeah, next week starts part two. So
Mhm.
if you're following along, part two,
Part
we're,
two.
we're
And if you
starting.
haven't started it, get in there and get going because it's
Yeah,
great.
catch up.
Get a
Okay,
discount. What
Louise,
do
I'll
we
see you in
say?
a minute.
See you in a minute.
See you in a minute.